The All Elite Wrestling roster are ready to take over the Kia Forum for a weekend of wrestling. So, what could happen on one of their big landmark events of the year? Let's talk about it. I'm John Rentham with my AEW Full Gear 2023 predictions. Let me know your predictions in the comments, please. And yes, I know there's a live collision, a live rampage, where they could add a swath of matches, likely to the 0 hour, and maybe even one more to the main card, but honestly, I have a lot of things on my plate. I really should get to eating that shit before it gets spoiled. Don't eat spoiled food, kids. What the hell is wrong with you? Didn't your parents or guardians teach you any manners? But nevertheless, Full Gear looks to be a fairly decent pay-per-view. And let's just get right on into it. I do want to say, though, really quickly, that I could see them adding Wheeler Yuta versus Hook for the FTW Championship, either on the 0 hour or on the main card. So, let's start with the one match on the 0 hour as of right now. This is about Thursday morning / afternoon, depending on your time zone. MJF and, possibly Samoa Joe, possibly a returning Kyle O'Reilly, who will reveal himself as the devil. Watch them make it Kyle O'Reilly. So, it's MJF and somebody, or just MJF versus the Guns, for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. I have MJF and whoever. And the reason is because they're going to continue this story, and who knows, maybe Adam Cole, baby, will come back from his injured ankle sooner than expected. But it's MJF and whoever. I mean, it's not that I think the Guns winning the tag team titles would be the worst thing in the world if Cole is going to be out for an extended amount of time. This is really, really testing how much people are willing to buy into the whole defending the tag titles on your own thing, but nevertheless, MJF and whoever, likely Samoa Joe. So, let's get to the meat of the matter, the big landmark signing that will be taking place, at Full Gear. Now, it was announced right after Dynamite went off the air that Kota Ibushi, at nearly 42 years old, with a neck held together by fracturing glue and fracturing duct tape, has signed. Okay, they have about 2 years of Kota Ibushi before things really start to break down. And if he takes any bumps like he did during that, that street fight deal, there we go. He's not going to be around for much of that, multi-year contract. Now, if it's obviously not going to be Kota Ibushi, because otherwise they wouldn't have announced that and blown the whole announcement. It's not going to be Will Ospreay unless New Japan has granted him an early release, because his contract runs till at least January or February. Now, will I expect Ospreay to sign with AEW? I mean, he could go to WWE. I just think he'll go to AEW. Probably works better with his schedule and with his style. Who could it be? Watch them make it Goldberg. It could end up being Goldberg. Now, if it could end up being Dolph Ziggler, who would have to go under, his real name, an assumed name, or a name given him by the Witness Protection Program. But that being said, could end up being him. I don't think it will be, though, because I think it has to do still with the contract, the 90-day non-compete. Unless his contract completely expired, unless he was one of the rare ones that could go anywhere he wanted, it could be him. I think that would go over about as well as Christian Cage coming in, a couple of years ago, even though it turned out to work out really well, and he is one of the top heels in the company. The big spotlight is shined on Mercedes Moné, who has not wrestled since injuring her ankle against Willow Nightingale. It wasn't Willow's fault, by the way, just want to say that. At one of the New Japan US shows, I think it was the one that was, what was it? Was it the one in San Francisco or something, or Long Beach? I'm trying to remember. I know it was one of the ones in May. And she hasn't wrestled since, at least to my knowledge. She has made appearances. She was in a walking boot. I believe she was at Wembley and still in a walking boot. She's been flown over there. I think Mercedes is very likely. If it's her, that's a big boost, and that could help the women's division if Khan actually wants to put effort in. Or maybe you have somebody that actually knows what the fuck they're doing with the women's division. So I think it is going to end up being Mercedes. Outside shot ends up being Goldberg. Just watch it be Goldberg, and then everybody just laughs. If it's not Mercedes, I think a lot of people are going to laugh. And these big signings and all this stuff, he just got Adam Copeland, aka formerly known as Edge, and I was there for his debut at Wrestle Dream, and while it was an incredible moment, I couldn't hear really that good for about 10 minutes because of the cheering. They've slotted him in, in the 6-man I'll talk about here in a minute, and they've done some good stuff with him. He's been able to go out there and deliver some well-acted promos, and he can still move well for being 50 years old with a bad neck. A neck that's as good as it's going to be after all the injuries and after all the wear and tear. But he was just signed recently, and now he feels like just another guy. And I just worry that all these big signings, unless Khan is willing to, and I'm not saying gut, but just let contracts expire, let some people go and shore up things and just maybe trim the roster down by 30% and just put people on Ring of Honor and AEW television just to make the most, of their big contracts. I really don't know how any big signing is going to help them. I think Mercedes, Outside Shot, Goldberg, or Dolph Ziggler. Watch it be Matt Riddle. Watch them do Matt Riddle, and then everybody just collectively scoffs and says, fuck it. So anyway, Jon Moxley against Orange Cassidy for the International Incident Championship. It'll probably be Orange Cassidy. If it isn't, does it really matter? No, that title doesn't matter. Hangman versus Swerve, Texas Death Match. It'll be Hangman. While his promo got some flack on Dynamite, it was still the best promo that he's delivered in quite a while. Was it perfect? No. Were there laughable moments? Yes. Was Swerve cracking? Yes. But it'll be Hangman. They could set up for a third match if possible. But Swerve won the first one. Hangman winning this one makes sense. I just hope they limit the amount of weapons and they build up to some weapon spots and just make it more about impact and personal, being a personal rivalry and all that. I just hope they do that. That being said, I worry they're going to just utilize weapons and it's just going to turn me off to the whole goddamn match, even though I like the fact that they built the story well. Hikaru Shida versus Timeless Toni Storm, AEW Women's Championship. Okay, one of two things. Toni Storm is going to win because Mariah May ends up costing Shida the match by being a fangirl, or she's going to cost Toni the match, and that is going to lead to Toni Storm and Mariah May having a feud at some point. I think it's more likely, actually, that Toni Storm is going to end up beating Shida, which, yeah, that would toss the title around a lot. But then you could build up her and Mariah May. They really could go either way here. I'm going to go Toni Storm. I wouldn't be surprised if Shida won, but I'm going to go Toni Storm. Even though I'm worried about how they're already using Mariah May, just based on what little bit I know about her, I'm like, this is your idea? The whole superfan stalker angle thing has sometimes worked. Mickie James and Trish, and other times hasn't worked. Tori and Sable. So nevertheless, Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue, TBS Championship. All signs would point to Statlander actually losing here to either Julia or Sky, and maybe going after Toni Storm for the Women's Championship, the main Women's Championship, I guess. I got Statlander winning, though. I think they could come up with more challengers and come up with a way to really build up this championship. But she has held it since, Double or Nothing, when she beat Jade! And she's now in WWE. But Statlander, I think, will win. Why not? They've at least tried to build this. I'll give them that much credit. Darby, Sting, and Copeland against Christian, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus. Darby, Sting, and Copeland, it's going to end up Nick Wayne's going to end up taking the pin. And I like Nick Wayne. I'm not knocking Nick Wayne. I'm not saying Nick Wayne needs to be beaten constantly. But he's perfect in this role. You've seen him at multiple indie shows back when he was, not that he's not still a young man, but when he was, not even legally able to drive. He's intelligent. He's bright. His attitude is he wants to learn. He has gotten better. But he's perfect in this role. I just hope that they make it personal. They build up the stuff, maybe give it 20 minutes, and you have Nick Wayne take the pin. Darby probably should hit the coffin drop. If they really want to shock everybody, they could have Darby take the pin, because Darby hasn't taken a lot of pins, if you think about it. Or at least, when he has, it has actually meant something. So Nick Wayne beating him would be something. You could go off of that singles program. But I think Darby's going to end up pinning Nick, because I don't think you're going to, almost said Edge, Copeland pin Christian Cage, at least not yet. Build to that. Don't have it happen in Winter is Coming. Have it happen at World's End, which I know is only 2 weeks afterwards. But do something like that. I have the faces going over here. They could have the shock of Nick pinning Darby. But I think the faces will win. Golden Jets of Jericho and Omega against the Bucks. So the Bucks put up their title shot they won at Wrestle Dream that I completely forgot about the next day against the idea that if Omega and Jericho lose, they can't team up again. So yeah, Jericho and Omega are going to win, get the tag title shot, and they're going to face off against Starks and Bog Bill. Because I call him Bog Bill, by the way, because of his shoe print in the middle of his goddamn, where the eyes are supposed to be. But Starks and Bog against FTR, Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi, and Brody King. And Roosh and Preston Vance or Dralistico, or does it matter? No. 4-way AEW tag title shot, and I spoiled it. It's going to be Starks and Bog Bill. I don't know, but probably pinning one of FTR because they're just going to have FTR, the best tag team going today. Nothing against Starks. Plenty against Bog, who is fine for what he is. But yeah, Starks and Bog get the victory. And MJF versus Switchblade Jay White for the AEW World Championship. Now, they built up this whole thing where the Gang Bang Gang has targeted MJF, and you have the devil, you have all that. They could reveal who the devil is on this show. I don't think they will. I'm going to say right now, MJF wins. He better win. I know he's had a title for a really long goddamn time, but they got the Smojo thing building. They got Wardlow coming after MJF. What's going to be the point of taking the title off of MJF? What, just to give it back to him at Winter is Coming? Because you have to continue these feuds. That way you could just have him do a TV program at Wardlow, or possibly into a pay-per-view program at Wardlow, since they're going to start doing pay-per-views once a month, which I'm going to really start considering and cutting down on the amount of pay-per-view reviews that I do. That being said, if you take the title off of MJF, you've just completely nullified the Samoa Joe and the Wardlow program. I wouldn't be surprised if Khan decided to do something like that. If Jay White walks out as the official AEW World Heavyweight Champion, then you might get a World's End review, but you ain't going to get me reviewing any television that Jay White is the World Champion on. Because I put up with enough of it during his New Japan run. Jay White wins. That's it. That's it till at least the beginning of the year. Because I find him bland. I find him boring. He's talented in the ring, but I don't need to see him as a world champion. I need to see it in New Japan. I definitely don't need to see it on a more widespread company in the U.S. Also, the devil will probably end up being Adam Cole, but here's my question. If Adam Cole has a busted ankle, what are you going to do? Watch it be Jungle Boy. They have it be Jungle Boy, they're going to have to really try to justify, because some of the fans didn't like him before that whole goddamn incident of whatever did or didn't happen. Anyway, let me know your predictions in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.